might be with you now in 1 sec. Okay. Let's get a light on the subject. Meditation's coming. With you in no time at all. Okay, 2 out of 3. Now, if you're watching on Facebook, I just got to turn you off for a minute, and then I'll turn you back on again. It's just to make a break in the video. Thought I turned the volume down on this. Meditation's coming. Just waiting for Facebook to get itself together. Instagram's looking fine, YouTube's looking fine, Facebook, not so good. Okay, that's looking promising. Right, we can begin. How are you? How's the day going? Going well? It's alright if it's not. I hope it's going well. I hope you're having a good day. We're going to do a bit of meditation. These meditations that I do, they're part of the Further Emergence work. I'll explain all about Further Emergence at the end. But for now, if you're used to meditation, you're an experienced meditator, that's great. If you could just hang on for a minute while I explain what I do, just for the benefit of people who are new to meditation. There's lots of different styles of meditation. This is what I do. For me, it starts with why I would meditate. I'm trying to connect to a part of me that I connect to every night when I go to sleep. Not the dreaming bit, the bit after dreaming. So I'm sort of dreaming, and then I drop out the bottom of dreaming into deep dreamless sleep, where I have no thoughts, no memories, no feelings, no emotions, no body really, no bed, no bedroom, no nothing. It all just disappears. I even disappear. I'm not really around. I sort of cease to exist. Sounds awful, doesn't it? It sounds like death, and yet I love going to sleep, and when I wake up in the morning I feel refreshed. So some part of me just knows that that is a good place that I go to. And that's where I want to go to when I meditate. I just want to do it consciously. So straight away, if you're new to meditation, don't try this lying down because you'll fall asleep. And if you don't fall asleep, you'll battle sleep, which is just as, disruptive. It's kind of contrary to what you're trying to do. So yeah, just sit up. You don't have to sit in a lotus position unless you're comfortable doing that. You can just sit in a chair. I'm just sitting in a chair. If you're going to sit in a chair, don't sit in a really comfortable big armchair. You'll fall asleep. Or you'll be into that whole side of things again. So as I say, I have no thoughts when I'm in this place. So it's like a place my mind can't get to. I can get to it, but my mind can't get to it. So I have to figure out a way of working with my mind, getting my mind to wait outside the door, as it were. So I just make an arrangement with my mind where I say, could you just not think for the next 15 minutes because I want to meditate. And at this stage my mind is completely on board with the whole thing. It's like, yeah, I've been doing it for years, so it's, I've got over any obstacles that I had about having a meditation practice. I'm not going to get into how to do that now because it's, there's more to it than that. But yeah, I can talk about it at the end if anyone's got any questions about that. So my mind is on board. Great. Next thing, stop thinking. Easier than it sounds. Because regardless of what I'm thinking about, which would be the content of my thoughts, the structure of my thoughts is always the same. It's always pictures and sound. So if I turn off the pictures and I turn off the sound, that's it. I'm not thinking. So as soon as I do that, as soon as I stop thinking, I'm into the practice of meditation. Now, the practice of meditation runs parallel to the intention of meditation. So the intention of my meditation is to go to this deep, mysterious, profound, still place that I was talking about at the beginning. The practice of meditation starts as soon as I stop thinking, and it pretty much goes, I'll stop thinking, so turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, I bring myself to not thinking. Then some time passes and I discover I'm thinking again. I go, oh, okay, I'm thinking again. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Then some more time passes, I discover I'm thinking again. Oh, thinking again. Bring myself back to not thinking, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound. Some more time passes, and so on. It's pretty simple. Whenever I discover I'm thinking, I bring myself back to not thinking. That's the practice of meditation. And it's important to know that and know about thinking, because it's easy to get the misconception that to meditate properly, in inverted commas, you have to not think at all, which isn't the case. It's a sort of a dance between these two things, the intention and the practice. So sometimes you'll be very deep and still, and then other times you'll be discovering that you're thinking. Both are powerful in their own way. It's kind of obviously powerful when you're deep and still, and it's all very profound, beautiful. It's not so, the power is not so obvious when you're discovering that you're thinking, but it's there, because what happens is, if you're like me, like, you know, the sort of things you'll be thinking about are all to do with you and your life, right? So I might be thinking, what am I going to do about that thing? Why did I say that to that person? Why did that person say that to me? And so on. So if I'm in the middle of meditation and I'm having one of those kind of thoughts, and I go, oh, thinking, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Indirectly, what I'm saying to myself and what I'm demonstrating to myself is, you know, that thought that you were having, that you thought was you and that you were it, well, you just made that thought disappear. So you're not that thought. In fact, you're not any of your thoughts. You're something else. That's pretty powerful. And then the fact that you do that repeatedly is very powerful as well. So don't add to your thinking by thinking that you're thinking too much, or that you're bringing your mind back from thinking too much. There's no right amount of times to do it, because it changes. It changes from day to day and from hour to hour. You could meditate in the morning and not have to bring your mind back from thinking that much. And then you could meditate in the afternoon. You might have to bring it back a lot. And one is not better than the other. Okay, just the main thing is the golden rule. Every time you discover that you're thinking, bring yourself back to not thinking. If you do that, you're doing great. Now, while that's all going on, I'm also letting go of tension in my body, or I'm becoming more conscious of my body. So I scan my body from my head down to my feet, back up again, very slowly, very gently. Anywhere I find tension, I let it go. And I use my out breath to let it go. So I breathe it away. You know, I do that because it's natural, feels good, feels like really I'm doing something. And it's also a good way of bringing a little bit more awareness to my breathing, because it's very easy to hold your breath in meditation, or to stop breathing altogether. So using the out breath is a good way of just becoming a little bit more conscious of that. The other thing I do is, as I'm scanning my body, I'm spending a little bit more time giving a little bit more attention to any structures in my body that go across my body, or transverse. Mostly my body runs longitudinally from my head to my feet. Any structures that go across or transverse, they operate a bit like a log going across a stream. You know, it picks up all the leaves and the twigs and any rubbish that's in the river that's picked up, except in my body, it's tension. So I'm spending a little bit more time on my eyes, my jaw, my tongue, base of my neck, shoulder girdle, all my joints, so my shoulder, elbow, wrists, fingers. All the joints are transverse sites as well. My heart area, my respiratory diaphragm, all my intestines, my pelvic floor, my hips, my knees, my ankles and my toes. Having a nice quiet room is very helpful when you're starting out in meditation, because one of the things that triggers thoughts is noise. And as soon as you close your eyes, your hearing amplifies. So if you have a nice quiet room, it's going to help you. Just at the beginning. As time goes on, you can meditate anywhere. The other thing I do to help my mind have less things to think about is I set a timer for how long I'm going to meditate for. So I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes. But if you're new to meditation, I'd encourage you to set yours for shorter. Set it for like 5 minutes and then repeat that 3 times. Because 15 minutes is a long time if you're not used to it. Now, Any questions? No? No? Good. Okay, let me just get this started. Okay, off we go into the mystery. Okay, if you feel like you've gone very deeply inside, then take a minute to come back from there before you open your eyes. Or if you feel like you can hold the inner space and the outer space, then just open your eyes. And if when you do that you feel like you've lost connection with the inner space, you can just close your eyes again, reconnect, open them again. If you lose it again, you can close your eyes again. You can use your eyes like a valve to balance the inner space and the outer space. So as I said at the beginning, these daily meditations I do are part of the Further Emergence work. If you want to know what Further Emergence is, it's to do with growth, inner growth, you could call it spiritual growth, growth in consciousness, growth in awareness, that kind of growth. Because your body stops growing when you become an adult, but you don't stop growing on the inside. You keep growing the rest of your life. You only have to think back to who you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago to see that you keep growing. And just like when your body was growing as a child, you might have gone through periods of accelerated growth, which are kind of colloquially known as growth spurts. The same thing happens on the inside. You can be growing and then you can suddenly go through a growth spurt, and it can be just as difficult as when you're going through a growth spurt in your body. Because when you're going through a growth spurt in your body, if you have pains in your shins or something like that, and you go to your parents and you say, oh, I've got pains, and your parents know what's happening, they'll go, oh, that's just growth pains, that'll pass. But inner growth spurts, which continue on, going through an inner growth spurt when you're in your mid-20s, or when you're in your mid-30s or 40s or 50s or 60s, there's a much bigger space to feel like there's something wrong, that it isn't natural, that there's something wrong with you. Because the way it can manifest can be very disorienting and difficult. All sorts of different ways of just feeling like, you're out of pace with the world, you're out of pace with your life doesn't fit you anymore, you don't fit your life, you can't recognize yourself in your life, you can't recognize yourself in the mirror, nobody gets you anymore, you don't really get anybody anymore, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what Further Emergence focuses on, is those inner growth spurts. And these daily meditations are to help. And the idea is that the more familiar you are with your inner space, the easier it is to navigate these inner growth spurts. There's also a Zoom group every week on Friday. So tomorrow, 8 o'clock Irish time, you're very welcome to come. You'll find the link on the website, furtheremergence.com. And they're a chance to meditate a bit more deeply, have questions answered, or get reflection, and to also kind of see that there are other people who are going through something very similar to you, and that helps with that feeling of isolation and loneliness. I work with people one-to-one as well. I do that 2 days, so today was one of those days. And then I've written books about Further Emergence as well, or around the topic of Further Emergence, and you can find all that sort of stuff on the website, furtheremergence.com. So if you're still with me, if you're still here, maybe there's a little voice, something's sort of going, there's something to this, and I would suggest you just let that voice tell you what the next thing to do for you, whether that is to just keep doing the meditations every day, to check out the different videos of the Zoom groups to see what they're like, because they're on whatever platform you're looking at this on, there'll be, if you look down through the feed, you'll see a video of one of the Zoom groups, and the audio from the Zoom group go to make up the podcast, so you could have a listen to that. Or you might want to reach out for some one-to-one work, or you might want to read one of the books, or do none of those things. That voice, that thing that's kind of said